You're watching the TC MMA podcast.
Brian Ortega takes on Diego Lopes in fight 3. And this is going to be an interesting fight. And before we get into the pick, you had Daniel Cormier issuing a warning to Brian Ortega. And these quotes are via MMA News. He says, "I think this fight is going to be very telling as to where Brian Ortega is in his career. If you can't beat these young up-and-comers, it becomes difficult to stay where you've lived your entire career. Ortega has to live at the top of the card for as long as we can remember." Yeah, he's been at the top forever. If he loses to a guy like Lopes, a guy who's on the run, a guy who's making his way to the top of the division, it becomes a bit of a changing of the guard. And he continues, but listen, the point is Cormier is right, and this is often a storyline in the UFC. I mean, and we see this on our do list all the time. You have the old guard, like in the lightweight division, the old guard was holding firm for a long time. Still are with Poirier and Gaethje and all those guys. Gaethje lost to Holloway, but for a long time, those guys were beating all challengers below them. But eventually, you get a ripple, and a guy, one of the old guards goes down, and it's wide open. And that's what we're seeing right now in the welterweight division. And I keep saying this with Shavkat and Ian Gary and all these guys and a few others that are on the rise. And the old guard, like Colby and Usman, and even, I mean, Bilal is champ, yeah, it counts. But eventually Bilal will fall too. Maybe not for a while. But these young up-and-comers are coming. And when you lose, it definitely is a changing of the guard. So that's something to keep an eye on. But listen, let's get into this fight. This is a big one. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. In the featherweight division at UFC 306, you got Brian Ortega taking on Diego Lopes. And people have been waiting for this fight. Ortega had to pull out of the previous fight. He's 16-3. Lopes, the Brazilian, 25-6. Lopes, 3 inches taller at 5'11". He's just 29. Ortega, 33. So both guys still in that prime window. Lopes has a 4-inch reach advantage. He stands right-handed. Ortega stands whichever way he wants. He's a switch stance fighter. I like that. It's always a big advantage. Ortega lands 4.1 significant strikes per minute to 3.2 for Lopes. Ortega also lands 1 takedown every 3 rounds. Lopes like 1 every 9, so he's not even trying to take it to the ground. And when you look at Lopes's numbers, it's hard to believe he's 25-6. So there's a lot of intangibles there and ways of winning. Now Ortega, aka T-City, 57% takedown defense, not great, but won't matter here. Coming off the win over Yair Rodriguez by arm triangle submission in the 3rd round. He lost to Yair before that by KO, and lost to Volkanovski by decision. So, you know, basically you can wipe away the Yair first fight as he came back and got the victory in the next fight, right? Before that, he beat Chan Sung Jung, dominated him, the Korean Zombie, 127-62 in significant strikes. So T-City is still up there, man. Lopes is unstoppable in the last 4 fights. 3 finishes against Sadiq Youssef. That's a big one. Pat Sabatini, Gavin Tucker. And then he beat Dan 50K Ige, who took the fight on that day's notice and beat him by decision. Dan Ige didn't fight bad at all. Lopes had a training camp and should have dominated that fight, but he couldn't do it. And that's why I still say, as I said before, the first time around, Brian Ortega is going to win this fight. I mean, I can't go against Brian Ortega. This guy's a bad dude, man. And, you know, he's not too old yet to where he can't win a fight like this. He should win this fight, in my opinion. He should dominate on the feet or on the ground or wherever this thing goes. I like T-City to get the job done here, whether it be by finish or by decision. Who knows? But he's going to dominate, in my opinion, and move to 17-3. Featherweight division. UFC 306. Yeah, changing of the guard will come, but it's not coming yet. I still think Brian Ortega will fight for the title again. He's going to hold firm at the top here. But if Diego Lopes beats him, yeah, it's like Daniel Cormier said, and that's why he warned him. Which you don't have to warn the guy because he already knows this, and he's probably challenging himself more than anyone else can challenge him. That's just how Brian Ortega, a.k.a. T-City, is. And I expect him to get the win here, hands down.
He's gon' fight, he's gon' fight. Hold your breath till the end of the night. Last fight of call, UFC at its height. Bringing that thunder with all his might. Saying, step up, wanna fight? Hold up. Think twice. Gladiator, assassin, reckless, no abandon. Walk through that cage, he'll leave your ass stranded.